getting nothing for free.
What's up, everyone? It's The Business coming back at you live for episode 12 of The Business. Let's be real. Tonight's special guest is Marshall Williamson. I was lucky enough to meet Marshall quite a few years ago. You know, we worked together at the Colony. It was funny because both him and his wife and me and my wife were all working at the Colony together, and it was, you know, many years ago, and luckily enough for Ashley and I, we got to meet Marshall and Allison, and they were super cool couple, and it's been fun to watch their and it's funny to say this because he's the owner of Evolution Fitness, but it's been great to watch the evolution of their life together and their careers and what they've been able to do. You know, and I'm super excited to get him on. He and I have been chatting for a couple weeks now, trying to work this out to where we could get him on. And I was lucky enough to get him in today, and going to talk to him about, you know, his life and what he's gone through throughout everything from the beginning, and kind of talk about like how he got into fitness at a young age, just by sports, and then kind of talk to him about his life all throughout, and just kind of what molded him into the person he is today and where he's going in the future. So with that being said, The Business, Let's Be Real, episode 12 begins now. Welcome back, everyone. Tonight's guest, Marshall Williamson. Marshall, how you doing tonight, man?
Very good, very good. Glad to join you.
Oh, man. Super proud to have you on, dude. Super excited. I appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule, because I know you're always busy, man. I know you're at work right now. Yeah. You know, we're able to break away for a little bit to come on and kind of chat with me about, you know, your career. You know, we had talked earlier. We talked a couple of days ago about, you know, how you got into this, and just kind of all the trials and tribulations that took you to this point and what you've been through. And just super excited to have you on and kind of tell your story tonight, man.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, I mean, it's been, it's not like I'm an old man here, but I feel like I've lived a long life at this point already. So a lot has happened in a short period of time, it seems like. Even since, you know, heck, I was just a kid. You know, me and Allison were just kids when we met you guys, you know, when we first moved to Sarasota. So a lot has happened since then.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of good stuff.
Yeah. No, true. You know, I wanted to, you and I started talking about, you know, the timeline of you and just like your life growing up. I know that, you know, you were kind of born in Florida, and you lived out here for your first 9 years. Can you kind of go into like your childhood as far as living in Florida, and then before the move to Indiana at the age of 9?
Yeah. So long story short is, was born in Clearwater, but we lived in Land O'Lakes, just north of Tampa. Back then there was nothing there but like one or two small neighborhoods and just orange groves and some like cattle land and horse properties and stuff like that. So it's crazy to see what it is now. It's all neighborhoods and all that stuff's gone. But we were also a lot in like the Newport Richey, Odessa, Tarpon Springs, Clearwater, Palm Harbor areas, you know, nonstop. As I was growing up, had a lot of family in that area. My dad had businesses over in like Clearwater, Tarpon Springs areas as well. And then when I was about 9 years old, moved up to a really, really small town in Indiana called Milan. Super small town. Only reason anybody would ever know about it is if they are a basketball fan or a sports movie fan. The movie Hoosiers was about that town. So a lot of people know that movie. But other than that, it's just as small as it was in that movie from, 60 years ago or whatever it was. We had family up there. My mom's mom, my grandma was there. And getting up in years, and she had a nice piece of property and a great setup up there, and parents were ready to kind of, get away from the, the rat race kind of deal, and kind of moved up there and set up camp. So Dad kind of sold off parts of his business down here, which was always in like the landscape industries. So you had wholesale nurseries, retail nurseries, landscape design business, all that kind of stuff, lawn maintenance, all that kind of stuff. So you had a little empire in regards to that, which a lot of members of my family then kind of got into over the years, my uncle, my brother, and whatnot. But he took, pieces of that business up to middle of nowhere, Indiana. And that's where Allison, my wife, is from. So luckily that all, worked out. Or else I would have never met her. But so when I was about 9, we went up there, and I was there through the end of high school.
Now, I know that when you went to Indiana, you said you were there through high school. We had talked about, weightlifting, but I didn't know that you were, weightlifting and powerlifting, but I didn't know that you were wrestling and playing soccer and running track and doing all those kind of things. And, know what I mean? And kind of finding all these different, I guess, niches in fitness. Can you kind of talk about, I guess, about the sports that you played and some of the stuff that you did back in high school to kind of push you into that fitness era?
Yeah. So luckily fitness, plays a role. Now it came secondary, when you're young, you start playing sports because you want to play on a team, you want to win, you want to, or your parents just tell you to, or whatever the case may be. But I was always into sports and whatnot. And there's not a lot else to do in Milan, Indiana, other than play sports when you're a kid. There's no amusement parks. There's no movie theater. There's nothing. We had literally a flashing red light in town. We didn't even have a real intersection. That's how small it was. So that's what kids did. They played sports, and you played sports year round. Most kids did. Most of my buddies that I played sports with, they didn't play one sport. They played 2, 3, 4, kind of deal. So luckily I was blessed enough to, excel at sports as well. So that made it, a little more fun. And I think just by way of being pretty good at them, it made me want to push harder and harder into what could make me excel at them. And a lot of that turned into the physical fitness side of it. Things that I could control. You can't control who you have as teammates or who you have as a coach or anything like that, or who you're going to play, which was tough being in a small town like that. Our varsity, boys soccer team had to have girls on it just to be able to play other high schools. So there was limitations to, success and stuff as a team overall, but I could control how good I was. And one of the ways that I seen an opportunity to do that was by kind of honing in on my own fitness and everything. So I want to say it was around sophomore year. I really started getting into it. In the freshman year of high school, though, I did start taking a weightlifting class, and I was fortunate enough to have a really good weightlifting coach, Mr. Garrett. And he, I think, kind of took a shine to me, seeing some natural ability in me, even though I was a little guy, at that point, maybe 5'5", 5'4", something like that. Little skinny kid, but I was, really explosive, really strong for my size and everything. And, took me under his wing to a certain extent, and taught me to really focus on, building my body and my explosiveness and agility and all the things that then carried over into me being a better athlete in all the different sports that I played, which was soccer, track, and wrestling. I didn't wrestle all the way through the end of high school, but soccer and track were my main ones. So I was team captain for soccer for most years that I played. And then track, is a lot more of an individual sport. So that's why I really, enjoyed that a lot, because, it was all on me. To a certain extent, one of my most successful events was the 4x100 meter. And we would go undefeated like every year. So until we got to like semi-state or something like that, and started racing some big schools, and we'd get embarrassed. But we'd go undefeated, and all conference, all county, all that kind of stuff. Where we're pretty localized to the other country kids. And then we'd graduate up to the big leagues and not do so hot. But I did the 4x1. Dabbled in the 100 and 200 meter, and then I was pretty successful long jumper as well. But yeah, so that was kind of the team sport side of it.
Yeah.
But as I kept pushing harder into the weightlifting and powerlifting side of things, I became pretty successful at that as well. So actually competed, won some competitions and whatnot, both in powerlifting and weightlifting, which are different types of competitions that involve different lifts.
Yeah, no, it does. And I don't think that people know too about the fact that it's like powerlifting and weightlifting is, and when you compete like that, I mean, it's weight classes as well. So, I mean, and that's the thing with your coach probably seeing something explosive from a smaller frame dude. I mean, and know like, hey, this kid can still lift this, like almost as like the big guys. Like it doesn't matter. He's just shorter, a little skinnier, but he's got the jack to him in the same way. And that's cool that you were able to win some early stuff like that, because that probably motivated you to keep it going.
Yeah, and just being a small guy and growing up, I was never like real low on self-confidence or self-esteem or anything like that. I was always pretty outgoing, but I was a short, skinny, redhead, freckled kid. So there was comments that came along with that over the years. None of it really, got to me too much or anything, but being able to show off my athleticism and my abilities in the weightlifting and powerlifting world, definitely did help me in those regards. And kind of combat any little negative thoughts I had about, I wish I was taller or bigger like my buddies or something like that, because I was able to still, perform and beat others within weight classes, just like in wrestling as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's what's good about wrestling too. I used to wrestle. I don't know if you've seen previous shows or if you knew the fact that I wrestled when I was a kid. And I wrestled since I was like a little kid, man, like 3 years old. I grew up in the business, you know what I'm saying? And
yeah,
I loved it. But the worst part about it was definitely the weight cuts. I mean, I don't know how much you had to weight cut when you were wrestling, but that truly sucks. And that probably contributes to the reason why I'm a eating fool today, why I love to still eat to this day, because I was like, man, I remember back in the day when I used to have to cut weight, man, that sucked.
Yeah, wrestling is an entirely different beast than other sports. You get a level of like discipline and everything and work ethic in wrestling that you don't get in other sports. And like 2 days in football are tough, and 2 days in soccer were tough and things like that, in the summer heat. But being like 12 years old, having to lose 6 pounds, before this weekend, tournament or something like that, doing sprints up and down stairs for 2 hours at a time, wrapped in garbage bags, and then in front of a heater. And I remember my mom used to, just watch me as I'd be, I'd have
everything all sunken in. You're like
on, just like sitting there doing push-ups and sit-ups and jumping jacks and stuff in my room to try and, make weight for these meets and stuff. And it's intense.
It is.
Kind of crazy that we're even allowed to do. I don't know if that still goes on.
It does too. I know. I remember thinking the same thing at the time. Like while I'm going through it, I'm like, is this even legal? Like how?
Yeah, I know.
A kid cutting weight like this, and
okay,
but it is what it is. I mean, you want to compete at those weights, and you don't want to. I mean. Listen, I used to come in, I remember, the week of the county championship when I was just like in 8th grade, dude. And I came in at like 13 pounds overweight on Monday. Yeah. And I had to drop, you know what I'm saying? I had to drop before Saturday morning weigh-ins. And I'm like, oh my God. And luckily, I mean, I was able to do it but I felt terrible and it's crazy, like for real. Like, I don't know how legal it is, but it goes on.
I know, surprising kind of.
I don't know. I mean, even professional. It's not just kids. When
Yeah.
you see some professionals come in and they weigh in, you're like, good Lord, like, what is he walking around at? Like, and then you see them the next day on Saturday and they look like a totally different person because they're rehydrated and ready to go.
I remember those weekend tournaments, we'd the invitationals and stuff like that, where we'd have to get on a bus and go stay somewhere over a weekend and whatnot, and you'd absolutely kill yourself. And even it went as deep as like we would have to stay at our wrestling coach's house. There'd be like 30 kids sprawled out all over his like house on the floor in sleeping bags, because he didn't trust people to like not cheat and then miss weight, the next morning after we get on this bus ride and everything.
That's true.
And it'd be midnight and there'd be little Billy over there on a treadmill, in the living room watching TV, as we're all trying to fall asleep because he's the last one that hasn't made.
He's still 4 pounds over. He's like spitting in cups and
putting bottles thing and everything. Man, hell yeah, bring back some memories. But yeah, then you weigh in, you get down to your skivvies and weigh in and everything, and after that, it's like we just go ham and eat a box of Twinkies and stuff like that.
Right. I'm like party on. I used to always have a Snickers for me, like ready as soon as I weighed in. Like as soon as I weighed in, every time I'd like have a Snickers and a Gatorade, and I was good to go. Like, all right, let's roll.
Sure.
After the Indiana time, and you went through high school and graduated, when did you guys make your move to Florida? Because I know you ended up making a move back to Florida. I don't know how close it was from graduation time, or if it was soon after, or if it was a little bit timed out. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so I'll back up with a little kind of personal history that'll make sense of why I ended up back in Florida to a certain extent. I think I always knew I wanted to be back in Florida. I love the activities and everything of Indiana. I grew up hunting and fishing and things like that. Loved hunting, like I lived for that. Four-wheeling, skiing in the winter, stuff like that. So I loved all that. But even as like a little kid, I think I understood it's not a place where I could really, see myself living forever, being successful and having a family and all that kind of stuff. So that became more and more apparent as I got older, closer to graduating, being able to move and do what I want, as an adult. But in high school, we had a tragedy where our house burnt down, lost my little sister, and, all kinds of chaos ensued for a long time. After that, in family matters and everything like that, throughout that, unfortunately, my parents split up. And my dad ended up back in Florida, back in the Clearwater area. So I was like, all right, as soon as, I'm out of high school, right back to Florida, I'm going to go with dad or in that area or whatever. And I still had family. I'd been going down, during the summers and stuff like that. And, had friends in Florida and everything. So I knew it was an easy transition for me to do, and is where I wanted to be anyways. So shortly after graduation, me and my mom was still up there at that time. She was a teacher at the school, and me and my best friend Daryl packed all our stuff in Tupperware, the big Tupperware tubs, and loaded them in the back of my truck, and we set off for Florida and moved in with my dad for the time being. Sleeping on couches and stuff like that, because he just had a little apartment kind of temporary deal at the time there, because he was still trying to find his footing and rebuild his business and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so that's how we ended up back in Florida. And then my wife, Allison, luckily ended up choosing to, so we had been dating since we were 17, I think it was. She moved to Miami to go to school down there. So it was, extra bonus. My girlfriend's in the same state and everything like that. So, obviously not in the same city, but we were able to drive back and forth between Clearwater area and Miami and spend time together and everything. So just there's multiple pieces, that fit together that made it an obvious choice for me to take off and, get back to Florida for good.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, that's cool too that she was out here. I mean, because that is just a couple hour drive from Clearwater down to Miami. Like you
Yeah.
can hop in a car 3 o'clock and be out there by 7. You know what I mean? Like and be ready to go to dinner and spend the weekend together. So that's cool that you know what I mean she wasn't that far away. Like it did give you some incentive. Like hey, I can go out there. Pops is out there. You know, homegirl's out there. I really want to chill with her anyway. So I'll go out there and check her out and. Yeah, it was like double bonus. You and your best friend moving out there too. Like you're like me, my best friend. I got Pops. You know, my
and luckily, I had a lot of, or at least I knew there was the possibility of a lot of opportunities for me in Florida, or at least in that vicinity. I was lucky enough to kind of grow up with a lot of good role models, especially male role models in terms of like the business world. Like not a single guy in my family worked like a 9 to 5. Everybody owned some sort of business, worked for themselves, hustled. So that's kind of what I always grew up, you know, seeing and everything. But they all owned different companies. You know, my uncle owned a landscape company. My brother owned a landscape company. My godfather, but always called him Uncle Greg, owned construction companies, and everybody owned different stuff. So I knew even short term, we'd have somewhere to work. Somebody would be able to, you know, use us and stuff like that. And that's what happened. As soon as we moved down, me and Daryl went right to work for my Uncle Greg's construction company. It was absolutely miserable and horrible, but
hot out in Florida doing construction.
Yeah. You know, we're just cleaning up job sites and stuff like that, and you know, Florida heat. But you know, but it gave us a way to, you know, get our footing, start making some money and stuff like that. So you know,
that's cool.
I had the expectation that we'd be able to kind of get the ball rolling quickly just by having family and friends and stuff like that already in the area.
No, that's awesome that you guys were able to do that, and like you said, have that as mentors and it of all the men around you that were business owners and were, like you said, hustling, pushing. You know what I'm saying? That's what we talk a lot about that on the show because of the fact that I have a lot of professionals and entrepreneurs and people that have been able to do, you know what I'm saying, what you've been able to do. And it's cool to talk about, you know what I'm saying, some of those inspirations of the men in your life that were owning businesses and were doing their things. And like you said, landscaping was a big part of the family, but you guys had some construction. And I mean, you've taken it on to another area because of the fact of what you've been able to do with marketing and, you know, social media and with the cars and with fitness and we'll get into all that. I don't want to chew it up for people too soon, but we're going to get into that later in the show. Now, when you were working for your uncle, I guess then you enrolled into school. Can you talk about like what were your majors in school when you first signed up to go to college?
Yeah, so in that general area there's St. Petersburg College. They have a couple different, or you know, everybody calls it SPC. They have a couple different campuses. Closest one to us was the Tarpon Springs campus. So I enrolled there during that summer. Didn't really know what I wanted to do long term. I wasn't 100% sold on like the whole college path, but you know, it's just what you do. You know, you get out of high school and you go to college. So, you know, got enrolled there. Luckily I was, you know, my tests and all that stuff were good enough that I kind of just, me and my dad went in, sat in with a, counselor or whatever they're called, you know, admin to help me get set up on classes, and didn't have to do any testing or real tough stuff to try and get enrolled there. It's pretty much, you know, here's all my test scores. You know, we had everything like in a file and whatnot. And they said, okay, you know, you're good to go. You know, all of your scores are good enough to just kind of move forward. So it was like that day I was enrolled and everything. Mainly for general, you know, classes that would go towards what I figured would probably be like a business degree. A little bit after being there, I want to say after one semester, they opened up a new program for entrepreneurial studies. I was like, I don't know what I want to do, but I'm pretty sure at some point I want to own my own business. So I'm like, this is perfect. So of course that was, mainly business focused, but it took on other aspects that you don't get in a typical like business management, degree. So a little bit more wide spectrum of different parts of business and things like that. Everything from, managing personnel to accounting to marketing and advertising and different things like that. So that was the bulk of the type of classes that I went through there at SBC.
No, that's, and I guess some people don't understand, business management like is more like managing other people's businesses. Going to entrepreneurship is managing, like you said, your own, like doing it to where, that's what you're looking to do someday, is not only run somebody's business, because some people are okay with running big businesses and not having to be an owner of that business, because owners have to deal with a whole nother side of things as far as the business goes. And that's, I know that that, of course, because of the fact that you are, an entrepreneur. So it's like, what it's like to be an owner and the boss, so it's like, it's different because you did the boss side of things too. Like you manage people's businesses, later on in your career, from where we're at right now, when you went to the Holiday Inn, you were able to do that, and but I'm not going to push forward to that either. Like I'll keep in line with it. Now, I was reading about the part where you're talking about, you were enrolled in college, you were like doing like the honors program, and then you kind of got your first job in the gym. Can you talk about what it was that you were like doing in the gym that kind of, I don't know, pushed to the personal trainer side of it? Because I don't know if you started off as a personal trainer or if it was something else you started off as first, like, just getting in, like, let me just get in, I'll work the front desk, I'll tote towels and do all that stuff first, and then that'll push me to get to the side of the personal training side.
Yeah, that's basically how it went. So started off as me and my buddy Daryl needed somewhere to work out. He was also big into weightlifting and stuff like that as I was. So this gym, Valley Total Fitness, was right down the road from our apartment. Went and got memberships there. And around that time, we're like, this construction stuff is, this is rough. Like, we got to get into AC, this, and just somewhere that we can work long term. The construction was never meant to be like a long term deal. So I applied there, just started talking to people, do you guys got any openings? They had a opening for, I forget what they called it, basically gym cleaner. You go around, wipe off machines, vacuum and stuff like that. And I was like, sure, why not? Foot in the door. Personal training really hadn't even honestly fully entered my mind as like a actual career path, because in Milan, Indiana, there's not even gyms. It's, nobody has personal trainers. It's not a thing you've ever heard anybody talk about at any point. Nobody gets personal training. Nobody is a personal trainer. So it's not even something that you're really exposed to just because you're in such a rural area. Now, maybe if I was in a, city or something like that, maybe the personal training, career path would have been apparent to me at that point, because it made sense for, my interests in weightlifting and fitness and everything like that. But quickly after starting that job at Valley, started making friends with all the other employees. Half a dozen or so of them were, guys, maybe not all that much, older than me, and were personal trainers. So, started buddying up with them, hanging out with them and things like that, and realized that, I had some of the same past experiences with sports and weightlifting and just interests and whatnot that they did that led them into being a personal trainer. So I said, what do I got to do to make this happen? So spoke with management and everything, and, kind of started going down that path. So got certified in all of that, so that I would, be able to be eligible to start training clients there at the gym, which then I did within, I'd say probably 3-4 months after starting there. I transitioned more into like front desk, and then really as a way to meet people there, and then took over, some training and stuff as people left and whatnot, picked up some odds and ends clients that way, and then started kind of building up my own clientele from there. All the while still going to college, enrolled in the honors program, and working at times, sometimes 2 other jobs at the same time. Because although at the time I was living with my dad, I was on my own. Other than that, I was never, I was on my own. So, I mean, my own vehicle, my own insurance, my own cell phone, pay for my own food, my own clothes, all that kind of stuff. Even after my grandma was nice enough to pay for my first semester at college. But after that, I paid for college myself because I was, working and had my own money. So, so that's kind of what I did for about a 2-year period. So as I was personal training there, getting better at it, was really excelling at it. I was one of the highest selling personal trainers in the brand, like nationwide at certain points for singular months. We had quotas and all that kind of stuff in those big gyms. But unfortunately, that was like 06 to 08 time period. And that's when we had the big economic crash. And one of the first people to, get the axe was everybody's personal trainers and gyms at that point. That was back at the time where every gym, the standard was $60, $70, $80 a month. There are these huge facilities with pools and steam rooms and saunas, and everything was included. And as the economy started crashing, up came the rise of the Crunch and UFit and Planet Fitness, all these places for $10 a month.
Sure.
Well, unfortunately, Bally, just their entire kind of old cool concept, like a lot of others, like Worlds and Golds and stuff like that kind of fell to the same fate. They filed into bankruptcy and started closing locations everywhere. And they ended up closing our location there in Clearwater. And that was right at the time that coincided with Allison, my wife, finishing up the first part of her degree in Miami. We had it all planned out that she was going to be going to do the second part of her degree for hospitality management at USF in Tampa, possibly living there or possibly just commuting back and forth and living with me in Clearwater. And at the last moment, they moved her program to the, at that time, new campus in Sarasota. So off to Sarasota we went. I didn't have a good place, to personal train anymore. There was like a little neighborhood place I was trying to do some training at, but, really wasn't getting anywhere too much. Had to work at Publix stocking shelves at 4 a.m., to put some money in the bank, after the gym closed down. That was not very fun. So I said, why not? And, kind of packed up and moved to Sarasota with Allison. That was in 2008.
Oh, that's cool. And, that was like kind of my next question up was like talking about like how it was that Allison came to be like back to your area, like to where you guys were at, because I know that then you guys made a move to Sarasota, like you were talking about. And then, luckily enough for, like I said, for us getting to know each other, like that was the time then when you guys made the move to Sarasota that we actually crossed paths. Like you guys actually worked closely with my wife, you know what I'm saying? Like we as a whole didn't work closely together because I was part of the food and beverage department. So, you guys would help us out and park all the people's cars to the parties that were coming in. Yeah. You guys made Jack and we made Jack. I mean, we all made good money, man, back then. It had a good life. Like we were having some fun out there, and that was a super cool time because that was a super cool world. And I guess I don't know how much longer after you guys came to Sarasota that you guys came to the colony, but it probably had to be soon after you guys got there, right?
It was pretty immediate. So Allison had been in Sarasota for a few months already because she got to get set up to get enrolled in USF and everything like that. So she got an apartment up on University Parkway, and it was, I don't remember exactly, but it was a couple months before I moved down. She had been working as a manager at Moe's Burritos. So just, as kind of a typical college job at the time as you keep going to school. And a guy kept coming in as a regular, Don, if you remember Don.
Haggerty, yeah.
That, hey, we're hiring, you should come apply to her. She ended up going and applying, getting the job, especially since she was, in the middle of a hospitality management degree and all that. And that's what she wanted to do. She wanted to work in and manage hotels. So she started working there. And then I want to say it's maybe a month later or so is when I moved down, and immediately she said, hey, they're hiring for a couple, entry level positions. I think it was bellman and valet, and went and met with your wife, and she hired me. So that kind of started my little journey with the Colony Beach and Tennis Resort, which was a world of its own, as you know. So it was fun. Yeah, I mean, it was an entry level job, but I mean, I was like 19 at the time, so that's obviously fine. But like you said, I killed it. It was, we had all the who's who of Sarasota and whatnot, coming through the restaurant on the weekends, and I made $1,000 in tips. I thought I was rich, and then after being there for a little bit, I started personal training in the fitness center there. So I would kind of bounce around all types of positions. So I did some in reservations, I think I even did a little bit of shifts in the front desk itself, and learned the operating system there, which plays into me and further into hotel world later on. Bellman, concierge, valet, all that stuff. And then I always really looked up to and kind of, I don't want to say idolized, but I understood that if I wanted to be successful at some point, I needed to get to know like successful people and like learn about them and things like that. And back then there wasn't YouTube and or maybe it existed, but I certainly didn't know about it. And there wasn't podcasts and all this stuff that was so prevalent today to like learn everything. And when you're 19, you're not always out reading business books and stuff like that. So I just always wanted to be around and try and talk to successful people. So I kind of, buddied up with some of the, well-known guests that would come into the hotel and try and learn from them. And then, ended up buddying up with Doc, the owner of the whole place. And by the end of my tenure there, it was kind of his like little sidekick. I'd drive him around. I'd drive him up to Tampa to meetings and hang out with them and stuff like that. And all these things that, I was trying to soak in everything of like how this guy, get to this point in his life. He was a dentist or something like that. I think
originally he was
18-acre resort, successful at that time resort, on the beach and everything. So I wanted to get to know this guy, and, he, took a shine to me, and that worked out. And as that ended up being a very convoluted way that business ended up failing, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But like I was literally, as far as I know, the last employee of the Colony, because he was just paying me just to kind of be his little sidekick. The whole place, 18 acres, was like ghost town.
It was gone. Everything was gone, man.
Everything was done. Nobody working, anything. And I'd just be riding around in my little golf cart, run there and some stuff for Doc.
Yeah, I know. I remember that time because I was still there for a while because I ran the purchasing department. So it was like anything he needed, you know what I'm saying? You would come back there and you drive back there and you'd be like, hey, Doc needs this. And I'd be like, all right, let's see what we got. And we'd look around for it and we'd find it and you'd take it back to him like, here, Doc, this is what we had, this is what Tony's got. And he's like, oh, okay, that's fine. So that was a crazy time, man, to watch the end of that place. And, when that world ended, man, it was crazy because we all enjoyed it. Super fun time in our lives. And like couldn't like ever wish anything different for that time in our lives because the Colony was fun. I miss it. I mean, hopefully when it comes back to whatever it is, they're successful as well.
Yeah, it was rough because I remember when they filed bankruptcy, they were like, nobody's losing their jobs. We had a big meeting, and then like we got a call like that night at 9:00. Everybody's fired. We're like, oh my God. It's one thing when one person loses their job, but when two essentially broke college kids, both work at the same place, and get a call that's saying that, hey, we're closed down. We're like, what are we going to do? We're like freaking out, borderline crying. And then like the next morning, Doc calls me and says, hey, by the way, like you still have a job, like be here at 9 a.m. or something like that. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, why didn't you call me last night? But we were freaking out. It was crazy. But yeah, luckily, we were able to, get through that. When you're 19, you don't have a whole lot of bills or anything. So it wasn't, all that bad really. But Allison, moved on in her hospitality career, going into sales for the Marriott properties up by the airport. And then by the time I finally said, okay, I got to find a real job here, not just, kind of doing, side work around there for Doc, I found a Dick's Sporting Goods that apparently needed a certified personal trainer, because all of the fitness departments within Dick's Sporting Goods are supposed to be ran by certified personal trainers. And I had no idea, but went and applied, and they're like, hired on the spot, when can you start kind of thing. And again, not seeing it as a career or anything like that, but I needed a job. The place, I work at closed down and whatnot. And I was there for maybe a year and a half or so, and kind of quickly worked my way up into management there as well. But again, knew I had no interest in being in retail long-term. I liked that it still had a tie in fitness and everything.
Sure.
Able to kind of spit some knowledge at people as they'd come in and ask about different equipment, or, what should I get for this? And or these are my goals. What should I buy? So there's still some of that personal training knowledge that I was able to, give to people. But, the bulk of those working in a retail store, stocking stuff, ordering, managing my employees, like ended up being a couple rungs up by the time I left, and, running a couple teams of guys and stuff like that. But I knew that long term, I wanted to be in the fitness world. My dad always said all along, like, one day you're going to have your own gym. That's what you need to do. You need to have your own gym, do your own thing. And I kind of always stuck in my head. And I knew I wasn't going to go buy a gym making whatever it was, $13 an hour or something like that at Dick's Sporting Goods. So I understood I needed to start some sort of real career path where I could advance and, make enough money that I could have benefits and all this other stuff, rather than just going off my own saying, I'm just going to be a personal trainer, freelance or whatnot. Like, I needed a real steady kind of career for at least the time being. And that, brought me back to the hotel world and seen a ad for a brand new Holiday Inn that had just opened up here in Sarasota. This big, beautiful, one-of-a-kind Holiday Inn, 6-story atrium, bar and grill, all this stuff. Like, cool, let me go check it out. And got the job right away because of the Colony, because of the experience that I had there, and because I used the same operating system, like, so same front desk system that we used at the Colony. So I already had experience with it. So it made it easy choice for them to hire me for a part-time front desk position, and kind of worked my way up from there. Within a couple months, I had taken over as guest services manager, and which that had me over like the front desk staff, like bellman kind of staff, as well as housekeeping and maintenance. And then probably a year after that or so, I worked up to be operations manager, and I'd been pushing really hard into the revenue management side of things, which is like managing the daily rates and discounts and all that kind of stuff, which is extremely complicated. That, most people would never realize how extremely complicated that process is for hotels. But I really excelled at that, went through a bunch of trainings for it, traveled up to the headquarters, stayed there for weeks at a time and stuff like that. And then just kept kind of working my way up into the point where at some point the general manager which I was kind of his right-hand guy, as like assistant manager of the hotel. He ended up leaving for another opportunity. And although I was never like named general manager, we didn't hire a new general manager. So I was the general manager for quite a good period there, or acting general manager, whatever, you want to call it, and just really pushed hard to be the best that I could, at running that hotel. I was successful at that. We're number one in the world at certain, in certain time periods for guest service scores and things like that. So even though I knew I didn't want to be in that field long term, I understood it was a way for me to, I had the ability to excel at it. I could make my way up to making, some good money, and I could save up to help me, further what I really wanted to do in long term, which was buy a gym and, get back to personal training full time. And that's what I did. So I had joined Evolution, the gym that I own now, just as somewhere to work out at one point. A little bit after maybe a week, I'd like just joined. One of the owners at that time said, "Hey, I heard like you're a personal trainer. Would you want to start training some clients here?" I said, "Of course." I only have certain limitations or certain availabilities in my schedule. It's gonna be like really early in the morning or on the weekends. But yeah, like I've been wanting to get back to training and whatnot. So she gave me the opportunity to do that. Was training people early in the morning and then going and working at the hotel, all day long into the night, very often. The nature of a business that literally never closes is that you end up with some very long hours sometimes, as and Ashley knows. So that was tough for a while, but it all worked out, because then one day the business partner of her said, "Hey, like we're basically both looking to move out of town. Like, would you be interested in buying the gym?" And of course I was interested. I was like, but I have no idea how I could pull this off. Yes, I've been saving and I've been working and, and whatnot. But it seemed too, I don't know, too big to be real, kind of thing of like
a big step. That's a big step,
like I was like 23 or 24 or something like that at that time. But we sat down and we started, talking numbers and figuring everything out. And, before too long, that was 7.5 years ago, I want to say.
Okay.
If that math plays out correctly. I ended up, pulling off, scrounging every penny together and getting a little bit of help from family as well, and bought the gym. So I actually bought 80% of the gym, and the guy Derek kept 20%. I had a business partner to help me kind of transition and things like that. So I had a lot to learn, a lot to figure out, a lot to take on responsibility wise, all while still managing a 135 room hotel with a bar and grill in it, and and all this stuff. So I was quite busy for a while trying to figure all that out and find my way through. What does it mean to own a gym? How do I make it profitable and or keep it profitable? How do I transition out of this career into this one and all that? So it was extremely interesting, exciting, but also scary time, taking all that on, because I knew I could be getting in over my head, which at times I definitely was, just being a somewhat naive young 23 or 24-year-old at that time. But I figured I had to kind of leap and go for it, because who knew when I could be presented with another opportunity like this. And especially a gym on Main Street in downtown. It was a small boutique facility that, was at least in the realm of possibility of me being able to come up with the money to buy. So I knew I couldn't pass up the opportunity and kind of, just went all in and went for it.
No, that's cool. And I don't know if kind of people don't know exactly where you're at in Sarasota, probably some of them and why you're saying it's a boutique style, because of the fact that, you are tapping into a different niche of like we talked about earlier of the industry, because of the fact that, it's not your cookie cutter gym. It's not, the crunches and the planets and all that kind of stuff. And no disrespect to them. I'm not trying to disrespect anyone and what they're trying to do, but I know that what you were doing is a little bit different. And like we had talked about earlier, it's kind of more of a entrepreneurial side of things. You're not just a franchise owner of something that's long generated way before you. You're owner of a different kind of gym, and that's what I think is cool. And that was why, when Ashley and I were even talking about it weeks ago, why you were so important to have on, because of the fact that it's not a typical gym, and that's what I wanted to kind of tap into, because you're multiverse in all kinds of different markets. It's not just fitness, and I hope that people aren't getting just the fitness side of this, for him, because of the fact that Marshall taps into a lot of different industries. It's not just one. He's a smart investor, which, sometimes people don't see that smart investors invest into multiple different things. And you've been able to do that not only with the fitness side, but you've done that also with, you're an automotive guy. You're big into cars and big into, that industry as well. And I just kind of want to, what I'm going to do now is let you kind of rip about what the industry was that you did before. I'm going to put up, hold on, Ashley left a message because she was talking about, she's like, really good show, Daddy, you rock. You know what I mean? Because she knows you're on. She's like, oh, Marshall's on. I can't wait. Like, oh, she put it at, she spelled it right. Really good show. Daddy, you rock. But yeah, she was excited for me to have you on, and really wanted for us to shed some light on this style of, like I said, gym that you're running. But I wanted you to kind of rip it up more right now about the previous thing you did. I'll put you solo screen, kind of let you rip about that, and then we'll get back into the fitness side of it. And then I know you're now venturing back into the car side of things, and then we'll talk about that as well. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, big guy.
Yeah. So long story short, I always knew that just the best way for me to be happy long-term was to be successful in things that I enjoyed. That seems, almost too simple to even have to say, but most people don't really have a passion for whatever industry or career path they've taken. So alongside with the gym, shortly after I started, I quit the hospitality, part of my life and was pushing, all into the gym. I was becoming more and more of a big car guy as I was starting to make, some better money as like, an adult. I started buying nicer cars and modifying them and doing stuff like that, and meeting a lot of really cool other, kind of young, successful guys through that passion. So, maybe a year or two after buying the gym, or actually probably right around the same time buying the gym, kind of met some guys through an event, and we decided to, do our own little side hustle of getting into the automotive event world. So concurrently, as I was, doing everything else, we were building up this business called FL Races. So we hosted events and planned these all-inclusive like weekend rallies. So you would bring your Lamborghini, you would pay us, however many dollars, say $1,000 a night or something like that. And we'd have like 50 guys signed up for these big weekend events. They would include all kinds of tours, private tours of facilities that nobody else could get in. Dinners out, limos picking everybody up to go to nightclubs with bottle service, and, staying at the Ritz-Carlton, and then having our own, car show, and attending big events, and we had, celebrities that were, coming to these things, and it was really blowing up. This was about the time that Instagram was really first taken off, and we excelled at building an audience on there. So that's really how we built the business, was through building a audience via Instagram through, especially like the South Florida area. We were killing it with that. It was an absolute blast. We were learning the ropes of the whole social media world by doing way of that. We're just having a good time doing it. It wasn't meant to be a career where we're going to quit our jobs or anything like that, but it was something fun for us to do. And, again, it was a way for us to make money at something that we really enjoyed. And it brought us close to a lot of other people that share the same passions as us. And if you own a Lamborghini, if you own, a fast BMW or whatever, good chances you're successful in whatever you do. Obviously there's, some people that, kind of walk into certain situations and whatnot, but by and large, these are hardworking people that have made good decisions and have excelled at whatever they've done, work-wise. So we really use that as like a networking, pool as well. We kind of wrapped that business up once, unfortunately, we lost our page with a couple 100,000 followers on it, due to just, the way things go on social media these days. You get your page hacked, and that basically ended the business. And it was a side thing. So we said, you know what, we'll wrap it up. Maybe we'll go after it again and try and do this again, later on, which we are thinking about doing now, all these years later, 7 years later since we first started that or whatnot. But we kind of called it quits there. But that ended up building a lot of experience for me in the social media world, especially within the automotive industry. So as I was still continuing to do the gym thing full time, I started to kind of, as a side hustle, do social media management and content creation and stuff for some local performance shops and things like that. And it kind of took on a life of its own. Everybody started realizing there was more and more of a need for every type of business, really, but especially within that automotive industry, which is such a big niche on social media, that they needed to be present and to be able to put out content in a professional manner via like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, etc. So people started just passing my name around saying, hey, this guy's good at building up your Instagram, of doing branding, of showing off what your company has to offer, and managing it all on a daily basis. Since just because you are really good at what you do in, building up a race team or anything like that, like I started working with, doesn't mean you have any interest in posting pictures of your race cars online and talking to people and answering questions about them all day. So I kind of turned it, just as a little side hustle, grew quickly into a full-on agency where I was doing everything from managing all of the social channels like Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, but consulting for companies, helping to build out social media departments within businesses and companies, working with supercar dealerships, race teams, traveling around the country with race teams and going to events and creating content for them and running their branding and social media management. It just took on a life of its own, and, all the way to the point to having an office and a studio and, subcontracting work out to guys in different areas and whatnot. And it was a blast, and it was a good run. But it wasn't what I intended it to be. I wanted it to be just like a fun little side hustle. And then it turned into a actual real business and a real company with real obligations and, rent on a warehouse and employees and all this kind of stuff, which unfortunately started taking a little bit of the kind of just fun and enjoyment out of it for me. So right around the time that all of this started to blow up, and I thought I wanted to dedicate more and more time to it, I took on some partners here at the gym. A great couple. They were kind of in between being retired, but they still wanted something to do, and they were both interested in fitness and everything. So that allowed me the flexibility to step away from the gym for about a 3-year period to build this business. Right about the time that it started to be not quite as enjoyable because it had turned into such a serious and real endeavor. With the social media agency, we decided to kind of close that down and step back from that, as my business partners had decided they wanted to full on retire and for me to buy them out. So that was kind of my big transition back into the fitness world 100%. The whole time I was always involved in the business. I still owned part of the business, or the gym I'm talking about, but it wasn't, my sole focus at that time. So once I bought them out, which was September of 2019, I said, okay, enough is enough. No more, splitting my focus up everywhere. I need to go all in on, making this gym just the absolute best it can be in every way, as well as my personal training business as well. So over the time period from September of 2019 to now, we've done a lot with the business. We've been renovating. I've absolutely packed my own personal training clientele to the point that I can't take on more people, and I'm able to fill up schedules for some of my other trainers, which is something I'm working on now, having to step back from training some so that I have the ability to work more on the business and less in the business. But now that I have the sustainability and everything with the business, and it's been doing great for so long now, I have once again stepped into the automotive realm, and I now own a performance shop here locally. It's one that's worked on my vehicles for like the last decade or so, maybe 8-9 years. So that's a new venture for me, but that's something where I'm trying to step back a little bit from the personal training side of things so that I have more time to work on just developing the gym and business as a whole. And then also developing, some new stuff with the performance shop, and going to be doing a full rebrand, relaunch and everything with that business and growing that, which will, be greatly helped by my social media past and everything, and how I can grow that business through those channels. With the gym, we're also currently going through a expansion right now. So we are on Main Street in downtown. We're in a 10-story tall building here, with a parking garage and all kinds of other businesses throughout the building. But I have now taken over the entire second floor of the building. I already had the third floor as well. The main spot on the second floor is the main training facility, locker rooms and things like that, the office that I'm sitting in now. And then I was just able to secure 1,800 square feet right behind me that we are expanding into right now. We've already had demolition start and everything like that, putting in a full retail store, a group fitness room, a room for massage practitioners of a variety of different methodologies to work on people before or after they go to a class or a personal training session or just a workout or anything like that, as well as some more office space over there as well. So that's kind of the gist of the current landscape, but there's a lot of things that have gone into the success of the gym over the last couple of years. So for a while, we probably weren't growing the way we should because I hadn't fully grasped the idea of that I needed to push hard into the niche that we were in. I was trying to be a little bit of everything for everybody. And that is, that works for the gyms that fill that niche, the Crunch and LA Fitness and all that kind of stuff. But that's not why people come here. We're a high-end upscale establishment. We're a lot smaller than some of the big places, but that's one of the things that our patrons love about us. There's not 500 people here. You don't have to wait in line for a machine. The place is immaculately clean at all times. Excellent staff. No turnover basically almost ever. So fully staffed, really, really high level personal trainers that I have here, and a great team that work with me. And then, I train my clients here as well. But we push farther and farther into fulfilling that niche within Sarasota. Downtown Sarasota and the islands, connected to us is an area that supports a lot of affluent individuals. So that's what we are here to provide a service for people that have the means to pay for the best personal trainers, that don't mind spending a little bit more for a gym membership instead of the $10 a month gyms, to have a more exclusive facility that it's better kept, better staffed, and well taken care of, with the best machines, and just has an overall aesthetic and appeal that goes with a more upscale boutique style facility. We are open more hours in most places because of the fact that we're smaller. I don't need a big front desk staff and things like that. So we're able to operate with a key fob access system, 5 a.m. to midnight, literally every day of the year. So that's another plus that we have that is really appealing to a lot of people. So, one of the things that I've built this business around, for me to keep me happy and engaged and just enjoy the business, is to keep it, as minimal as possible in overhead, not just in terms of money, but in terms of, it's just so much easier to manage appropriately when you eliminate a lot of different things that can go wrong within a business. So less, admin personnel, and there's no salesmen, there's nothing like that. We are a facility that's small enough that we can survive and thrive as we have been and are, without a big staff and without having to do tons of advertising and marketing and things like that. And those are some of the things that some of the reasons why we have survived the horrible year that COVID, provided for the fitness industry. We were able to, of course, we had to close down for a couple of months like every gym in the state did, but we were able to provide a, clean, safe, private facility for people that were willing to, to pay for it, and able to provide kind of that fitness safe haven for people through the crazy year that we had last year. And, and continue to take care of our customers and our clients and our personal training clients and all that throughout the year, so that we could continue to grow without any marketing, without any advertising, just good old word of mouth, by providing a really good facility, really good staff, really good services. There are competitors of mine that did not survive. We were already kind of the top tier choice for boutique fitness, or full service boutique fitness, meaning we have all the different aspects of a gym, a locker room and everything like that. Like some of the other little studios, don't have, like some of the group fitness places. But where others were unable to survive because of, different factors, we've been able to prosper and grow through these tough times for our industry, and to the point that now we're doing expansions and things to bring about even more options within one roof here for the people that are looking for this type of niche within the fitness business, or the fitness industry. So that's kind of where we're going right now in terms of the gym, just trying to, push through this expansion. It's always a fun process waiting for permits and stuff like that. So, it's a little bit of an undefined timeline, but things are moving along. We're super excited. We're in here all day, every day. I get in here at, 6 to 7 in the morning. I don't usually leave till 8, 8:30, 9 o'clock, almost every single day. Today's Sunday, and I've been here almost the entire day except for a couple hours of trimming trees in my front yard. Was here all day yesterday except for going out to dinner with my wife. But it's something that's exciting to put my time and effort into. And it's all moving in the right direction.
Oh, so cool, dude. And it's cool to like listen to it because I mean, like when we were talking about it a couple of days ago, you and I hadn't talked in a while, and to talk to you just we talked 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and it was a cool, quick conversation of, just the run from even the colony days through into what you're doing now. And then we talked about it, and I was like, what I do is I kind of ask questions and kind of, want to see the timeline and kind of see what your inspirations were and how you made it to where you are and what you've done and where you've been and where you're at now and then where it's going in the future, and I think you've done a good job on kind of, revealing all that. I think, and I appreciate you for coming on and kind of doing that for me and doing that for the people that are watching, because there's so many people out there watching and what I'm trying to feed them, Marshall, is different aspects of so many different businesses of how people have become successful, and you're a great inspiration onto the way you've become successful. You've worked hard to get to where you're at. I hope nothing but the best for Evolution and the fitness bar. Like what you're doing now is phenomenal. I saw just a couple of weeks ago you had invested in and bought the second floor to the building, and now you are running 2 floors. And you and I talked the other day when we were talking about the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu gym that you have in there as well, and how Hoist was able to come there just a couple of weeks ago, and you kind of laughed about that story, like, man, they called me about it on like a Tuesday and told me he was going to be there Saturday. And I was like, oh man, I'm going out of town and this isn't going to happen. And then come to find out it was delayed. And then the following week you were going to be able to be there. And you got to, sit in class with Hoist Gracie and take some pictures with him afterwards. And he was there in your gym, man. I mean, that's awesome, dude. So, I mean, super cool to see the whole situation on how you've been able to get to where you are. It's funny because we did get some comments while you were talking. Allison, Mrs. Williamson, tapped in and she was like, "So proud of you, Marshall." And I know she is because she's been your ride or die, dude. She's been there for the whole thing, man. Like, she was able to enjoy it, man. So that's super cool. And Ashley chimed in too, and she was like, "It's great to hear about how you've grown, Marshall." She's like, "We all need to get together soon. I can't believe it's been so long since the colony, man." That's the truth, dude. Like the colony was years ago.
Realizing how long ago that was that we all worked together. Right. 2008, man.
Yeah. Wow. Like seriously, 13 years ago, man. That was crazy. Crazy to think about that. And like I said, I mean, it's been cool to watch your journey, dude. Super happy that, you were able to continue to grow. You've worked hard. You've been through some tough times. I know, what I'm saying, you tapped in just a little bit about your younger sister passing when you guys were young, and you didn't get too much into the personal life of things, but I know that, family's always been big to you, dude. I mean, I remember when we met back in 2008, and, I remember just you always being very, very, very personal, good guy, like never, you were never out to hurt anybody. You were just always trying to succeed for yourself and try to make the best for yourself and Allison. And we've been lucky enough to witness that, dude. So I'm proud of you, dude. I appreciate you coming on. I do a little funny bit of the show right now where it's called like Pick Your Poison. And I did want to question you just on a couple of things. It's nothing dramatic. It's super funny. It's really just basic questions where I ask about just a few matchups and what you would pick in those certain situations, and then I'll let you get out of here, dude. Like I said, and like I said, I totally appreciate you, man. So let me do your pick your poison if you don't mind, and then I'll let you get out. My choices for your first choice, pretty easy choices. Like, I'm not trying to get crazy with you, but I would say Indiana or Florida. Which you pick?
Florida, 100%. Some of the the hunting and some of the snow and stuff like that up north. But other than that, 100% Florida.
Sure. And it's funny because I don't know if you know, I grew up in Ohio, and that was where my younger years were. Like, we kind of did the opposite. Like, you were in Florida and I was in Ohio, and then I moved to Florida after I was like 7, and you moved up to the north to the tough weather. You got to see the seasons, and the seasons are cool and all, but it's not like how Florida is, man. Florida's super cool and super different. So I mean, I love Florida. I still root for my up north teams, but I get it, man. You pick Florida, I'm cool with that. Another question I have for you is cars or fitness?
Ooh. Fitness overall, no matter what, I always revert back to fitness. It's how I provide for my family, how I'm building my future. And even if it wasn't for that, I enjoy and love training myself and pushing myself to limits and everything like that. And if I wasn't successful in fitness, I couldn't buy all these cars. So I'll always, be passionate in fitness, and and I'm not done with this gym either, So as far as the fitness realm goes, I have some big goals in mind and things that I plan into, delving into more, and more expansion and more locations, or different things like that, in the future as well. So I'll be in the fitness, realm 100% for a long time.
Yeah, no, that's cool, dude. Yeah, no, I mean, and like I said, I didn't have too many questions on pick your poison. I have a couple for you. That was it. Really, I didn't want to get into. I was going to tap into the dog situation because I know you're a dog dad, like the same way I am.
Yeah.
I have Capone. Capone is he's a Staffordshire pit bull mix. He's an American bully. So he's like a big Jack pit bull. You have a Staffordshire and a Frenchie, you know what I'm saying? So I know that you're a dog dad like me, and I was gonna say Frenchie or Staffordshire, but I don't want you to pick between your babies, man. That's not
that's okay. I'll 100% say I'll pick my Amstaffs over the Frenchie. Not because I don't like him, but because he's just so noisy. That's the only problem with that dog.
I didn't know he was a boy. And you know what's funny? Like I said, Capone's a staff and pit mix, and he's so cool, dude. And I know that it's because of the Staffordshire blend. You know what I mean? Like, he's so chill. He's like a big teddy bear. He's been great for the kids. The kids have grown up with him. I mean, because we had our puppies at the same time. I mean, and they're so funny together. Like the kids love him, and he's just been great. Like, Staffordshires are the best. Bullies are the best. Like, no disrespect to the Frenchies, but love our staffs.
I love Frenchies. It's just and it doesn't help. He's like the world's biggest French bulldog too. So I mean, we've had our 2 Amstaffs for a long time, and it got to the point where we were like, all right, maybe we want to add a third dog. These Frenchies everybody's getting seem cool, and we wanted something small enough, but still not a dog that could still play and roughhouse with the bigger dogs and things like that. And we're like, all right, Frenchie makes sense. And it's small enough that we can go, he can sit out with us as we eat outside somewhere at a restaurant or whatever, and, not be a nuisance, not pull a table over or anything like that. We look them up. They're like, all right, they're like 15 to 25 pounds or something like that. And then we get our Frenchie named Buster, and he just never stopped growing. And he's like 45 pounds, not fat. He's just absolutely enormous. Somehow we accidentally ended up with a third big dog. So.
No, that's cool. And, you know, like I said, I didn't have many questions for you as far as the pick your poison, dude. I kind of do it simple and, you know, just kind of want to pick things to your particular life and your particular industry and kind of what you do. Totally appreciate you coming on, Marshall, man, and coming on. And I know you're busy as all get out. You know, you like you said, you're working 12, 14, 16-hour days sometimes, man. And that's crazy, but you're making your business successful and, you know, and I hope nothing but the best for Evolution. You know, hopefully we'll come and see you guys soon, and I'll have you on a future show, I'm sure, because I'll do a whole, you know, checkup on all my previous people that I've had on the show, dude.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be some new stuff to report on after the gym expansion is done, and I've done the rebrand and relaunch of the performance shop and all that stuff. So I'm sure there'll be some new news to report on.
That's awesome, man. So, appreciate you, Marshall. I'm gonna put you backstage, man. I'm gonna do my little ending bit and final quote and get off the show, and then we can chat afterwards, man.
Sounds good.
All right, big guy. I appreciate you. Yeah, man, that was Marshall Williamson. Super excited to have him on. Such a good guy. Like, good people to, you know, have around you. Great entrepreneur. He was able to come on and just kind of tell you his particular story on how he was able to get to where he got to. You know, it's not easy, you know, folks. People have to go through many different situations to get there, and he worked his butt off to get to where he's at. He might be a young man, but he proves it in the work that he's done, that, you know, he's worked his butt off to get to where he's at, you know, and that's what's important. And I just want to, you know, be able to shine a light on people like that, and shine a light on those entrepreneurs that are able to do that, because it's tough to do that. You know, we all don't have that kind of inspiration sometimes, but I'm trying to give you guys that inspiration and show you guys different lights of how it is that different people in different industries have made it, you know. So I hope by bringing Marshall on tonight, he was able to do that for you in a different light and give you hopefully some inspirations on what it is that you're capable of. So with that being said, I'm going to do my final quote of the night and get you guys out of here. Today is a good day to have a good day. Remember that. Don't ever let anybody get you down and think that, you know, today's going to be a tough day for you or anything that you can't handle, because you can always handle anything that, you know what I mean, you're capable of. Prepare for it. Make it happen. Like I said, appreciate you guys so much. With that being said, the business. Let's be real. Episode 12. Over.